be a very different episode because it's going to be a running episode. As I'm outside. I'm going to be interviewing one of my favorite people, my mom. And yeah, going to be finding out her insights on love and what it is and what it has to house. And genuinely getting to find out as we do here. So it's fun in that. So hope you guys enjoy. Welcome to another episode of Love is Phickle. I am joined by the elusive mother. It was supposed to be an on the move episode, but because of circumstances beyond our control, it's a sit down. Today we're grounded in 1 Corinthians 13, which says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, and it is not rude. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. The first question of the episode is, how do you define love?
I define love as God. God is love.
Okay. And how were you taught to love growing up, and how did that differ from the love you gave your children?
How I was taught love growing up.
How were you exposed to love, and then how did that differ from the love you showed your children?
Well, we grew up in a different era, but I guess for me, I was exposed to love through the way I was raised. I came from a family that we were just a regular family. It's difficult to say, but my father was very affectionate. My mother was more of the stricter person, but in the way that they raised us, you felt loved, I guess.
And how did that differ from the love you gave your own children? Or how was it similar?
I guess it was similar in that there were things I thought I would never do if I became a parent, but I found myself doing them.
Like?
I'm not going to say.
Okay.
But I think you grow. I can see the progression. Being a first-time parent was like a bit of a maze. You really don't know, you don't understand, and it's unlike generation of parenting done now. Excuse me. I think this generation is more intentional, more exposed. They do a lot of things differently. They research, they go on the internet, they seem to know what they want and how to find, ways of parenting. For me, it was like, I was a parent. And then you discover how to do it, and then you realize, oh, so my mother wasn't strict after all. She was looking out for me.
And through, you said the generations are different. I think your children have also given you a different experience as a whole. How would you explain, or how would you give advice to young adults who are experiencing love in university, post-university, before university? Because it has different shades, and I think we all experience different things, but there's always something that is universal through these experiences throughout the generations. So what would you say to, if you're like your child, myself, if I was to talk to you about love, having a partner, what advice would you give me?
I guess what I would tell you is, I think the question that I've always asked you, why do you need a girlfriend?
Okay.
Reason being, you are young, you're in school, and your focus should be school. There's a time for everything. And I'm saying this not because I did things any better, but because when I look at how I did things, I see that had I also focused on school and not relationships, it would have been different. So that's why I always ask the five of you. I think you've had the same question, like, why do you need a girlfriend? Why do you need a girlfriend? As in right now, if you focus on school, if you do school, and you give it your all, there will be a time for a girl. There will be a time for a boy. And also, if you get to understand that for every person, there is a spouse that God created, and there is the right spouse. But if you do it according to the way you feel, your emotions and pressure, you'll get a spouse, but not the right spouse. But if you wait on the Lord and you, as the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things will be added unto you. So if you seek Him first, that spouse, the right spouse, will be added unto you. But unfortunately, we only seek the spouse first, and then later seek God.
Okay. In my personal experience, I've heard of stories of how people got together, Sekuru and Buya, you and Dedi, uncles and aunts, and when you hear these stories, it's like a fairy tale, it's like in the beginning, then happily ever after. But no one ever speaks on the trials and tribulations that people go through, the breakups some of these relationships go through, the issues that they had to face and overcome. And then for me, for example, when I then go into relationships, I kind of want a perfect type of love, and I'm of the belief that love shouldn't hurt and love should be wholesome and perfect, because of what I've been told and not of the trials and tribulations. I think my question then would be, how do you approach that? How do you approach love that's been affected by hurt? How do you approach love that is, I can say tainted in a way? And how do you learn to forgive? How do you learn to move forward? Because I think in this day and age, everyone's taught to know their worth. So if someone does you wrong, you just leave and you move on, find the next person. So how do you go about that?
Well, definitely relationships may sound like fairy tale, but they're not. They have challenges, different types of challenges. A relationship is about two people. And as long as you understand that it's two people who come, like you are my son, our son, you were raised in our home, we have a way of doing things in our house, we have our belief system and all that stuff. And the girl that you will have when you date or become married is raised in their family according to how they do things, and how, it's totally different. We are parents, the two parents, the four parents are totally different. And sometimes you've got a household with a single parent. So values are different, beliefs are different. And the two of you are coming together, and you have to be of one mind. According to the Bible, you have to be of one mind. But it's not like that. So that's when the challenges come, and that's when the problems come. If you don't understand, because the thing about relationships that I also got to understand later in life is, you need to understand your purpose. When you're in a relationship, why are you in that relationship? What is the purpose? What is your purpose in that relationship? When I look at your father and he looks at me, do we understand why we are together? God has a purpose for us being together. That's why I said at the beginning that for every person there's a spouse. If you have for a Christian belief where God made Adam and then took Eve out of Adam, meaning there's, for every Adam there is an Eve. For every Eve there is an Adam. So if you understand that you have a purpose, it helps you in your relationship as you move forward. But this understanding came later on in life, because I also was just, think there's a girl who likes a boy and you get together, and that's not it. If you base your foundation on worldly things and what the world says, what Hollywood says and all that stuff, you will get very lost. But if you are founded on scripture, even the challenges that you're talking about, become easier. It becomes easier to maneuver. It becomes easier to maneuver because you know how to deal with conflict. If I'm in a relationship, like I'm in a relationship with your father, and we don't have the biblical foundation, whenever we have an argument, I will come out according to how I understand, and I will express myself the way I know best, and I will speak me, and he will do the same. So here's the two of us wanting to prove the other wrong. But if we have a foundation that is biblical, we will have the ability to stop and say to each other, okay, this is how you see it, this is how I see it. What does the Bible say? And if you can get back to the Bible, it stops the friction. It stops the argument. Because all arguments stop with the Bible. But because the Bible is never put at the center, that's why there are problems. So you will not understand trust. You will not understand keeping yourself for marriage. You will not understand communication in relationship because the Bible is not your foundation. I don't know if I've answered you.
No, you've answered. Then I think I've got my last two questions. My first one before the last would be, what has being a mother of 5 taught you about love? Because I think you have birthed 5 different personalities that need 5 different languages of love. So what has that taught you about love?
Having 5 children is quite a unique experience because, like you said, there are 5 different personalities and you are all different. We all know who the hugger is in the family. Yeah. And she was born like that. She doesn't need effort. That's her love language. She's very affectionate. And even as a little baby, she was always like that. We've got the one who will straighten out people and make them sit down and put them to task and ask them, even if they're mama and daddy.
Oh, me.
Yeah, boy.
Okay.
So they're all different. Then you've got the leader of the family, of the children, not by virtue of anything, but because she's born as a first child. So she's got, I think, yeah, I'm a first child, so I understand her because she's the first child. So you've got that advantage of being the first. So you lead by virtue of your position in the family. And even the way that she looks at life is different from the way that you would look at, or your brother would look. Then you've got your brother who comes after you. Tends to be quiet to those who don't know him, but to those who know him, yeah, he's outspoken, he speaks his mind, he will say his mind, and then you've got the baby, who is actually very independent. He's actually very independent. If people didn't know the numbers, they would think number 4 is number 5, because she was, as a child, she was more of mama's handbag, clingy and attached to mama, while he liked staying at home. So it's different personalities, and because of that interaction with the 5 of you, you get to see 5 different people. Your patience is stretched as a mother. You give birth to funny children who have a sense of humor. You give birth to one who... It's totally different. But I think the stages, when I look at when you were children, little children, and then when you became a bit older and then teenagers, and now you're all nearly young, all of you are young, kind of young adults, except the last one is still in his teens. Even the second last one, she's still in her last year of teenage. my train of thought is gone. But I think what I was saying, when you look at the different stages that you've gone through, now you're young adults. I relate to you in a totally different way now. We talk differently. I've also grown because, mind you, each of you had a different me as a mother. Yeah. None of you had the same mother. Our first had me, who I learned to be a mother because of her. The last got a tired mother who would look at you things that you probably would never get away with, and I was just like, I'm tired, and probably because I discovered, what, at the end of the day he'll turn out all right, kind of thing. Yeah. So it's just I think I can safely say I'm blessed because I have seen you guys progress and grow up. Now we can sit as adults, we can have our conversations, we can have our fights, we can talk to each other, we can get angry, but we still come back together because we know we're a unit, we know we have that bond that we share. And I think when I consider the struggles, the challenges, parenting and everything, I'm so grateful to God that I'm experiencing you, the five of you, as you are and as we are as a family now. It's very fulfilling when I look back and I see where God has taken us from.
And then the last question, what's one thing you'd like to tell my subscribers and viewers?
He's very talented. He's very talented. He's very passionate. Very, very passionate. He has a gift. He has a gift, the ability to express himself. Subscribe, follow, share. No, but he's really very, very passionate. Thank you for waking me up.
No, don't zoom in!
Commercial break.
Watch it dark. Oosh, looking for the light. Where's the light? Can't find the light. It's dark. Look at the light. Nah.
No, stay away from the light.
Stay away from the light. Don't go. Away from the light. Hey, white men.
On the mood.
See, that's what I'm saying. You were ducking the smoke.
That's good, yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Love is Fickle. It was supposed to be a... what do we call it?
On the move.
Yes! An on the move episode. Okay.
Yeah.
When you say we,
Mother and son, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother and sister. Would you say love on its own is enough to keep that relationship afloat?
well, love being a decision, something that you make on your own, but it's not enough because there are other components, there are other factors to consider. Love enough.
Yes. So ideally, love is not enough because you need other things. You need to be intentional.
Don't help on that as well.
I'm just saying, you need to be intentional. You need to be honest. You need to be transparent. You need God at the center of it. It's not enough. Love by itself is not enough to carry. Love as a feeling is not enough to carry. But anyway,
if you become too complicated, love is you get what you get.
welcome back to another episode of Love is Fickle. It was supposed to be a on the move episode, but someone resulted in it being a sit down. Alright, so beside me I have the elusive mother, and we're going to be asking a few questions and just...
Cameraman.
Oi!
Cameraman.
What are you doing?
You back,
Oh,
you good.
guy!
This guy.
It was Mama, bro. She kept looking at me.
Unless you're holding it.
Cut, cut, cut.